Hey everybody, it's Ron with Ron's Computer Videos. I want to thank you for taking a few minutes out of your evening and spending it here with us. Let's get right to the interview. She's an author, a computer literacy advocate, and the designer of many of your favorite interactive fiction titles, Annie Fox. Annie, how are you this evening?
I'm doing okay, Ron. How's it going?
I'm doing just fine. I feel really bad. I've got some of your work here. I used to have all those putt-putt games, but when my son went to school, I actually donated them all to his pre-K, so that way that they could go through and play it. I took them a Mac and had it all set up for them, and they played that stuff until that machine died. But I especially love. I'm a huge Peanuts fan, so I really love Charlie, Get Ready for School, Charlie Brown, and then of course we'll talk about all this later in the video, but the Sherlock Holmes consulting detective titles. Yeah. And in the pre-show, I kind of shared this, but if you're a Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan, Bill Corbett, who played Crow T. Robot, I actually got him at a show to sign one of these. He was like, "How do you know I was in that?" And I was like, "It's your face all over it." But anyway, all of that nonsense. But thank you so much for taking time to come and to meet with me. I watched an amazing interview that you did maybe a couple of months ago, just about your career and stuff. And I was like, I reached out and you were very kind to say yes. So thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to ask you is, you're an author and you've written for so much over the years. I know now that you've kind of transitioned, you're now kind of a author for young adult fiction. But what type of media really inspired you growing up?
That's a really great question. My mother taught me to read when I was 3. And when we were 6, we moved into a town that actually had a children's library, a standalone children's library, excuse me. And so the deal there was, if you could read the pledge that you'd be responsible for bringing your books back on time and in good order, you could sign up and get your own library card. And that library building was within bike riding distance of my home. So I was there a lot. And I think books would have to be, the medium. I mean, there wasn't much else back in the olden days. So yeah, I read a lot. And it turns out, interestingly enough, that I continued working in high school as a library page in that library. And the children's librarian mentored me. And my first children's book, People Are Like Lollipops, which I wrote and illustrated, she was kind of the person to help me get it published.
That's great. It's I love the idea that it's like that you use this resource and then you got older and you gave back to that exact thing. That's such an important thing that I think people miss out on, is kind of going back and watering that tree. But my family, we were big library people. We kind of lived out in the country, so they very lucky. They had a grant. They had a library bus that would kind of come
Oh,
out
yeah.
and let you get on. And it got to the point where they were like, you really need to check out different books. You keep checking out the same stuff. And I'm like, I love these stories, but no, but that's great. When you were kind of coming up and getting involved, when did you get involved with computers?
I was working as the director of a preschool and got laid off from that job after a year. David at that time was transitioning out of doing one-on-one counseling using biofeedback machines. And we decided it might be cool to do something together. It was like the second year of our marriage. And we figured we were a pretty good team. We could probably take my teaching skills and his computer interests and in some way meld them together into something that would serve the community. So in 1977, we started the Marin Computer Center, which was the first public access microcomputer center on the planet.
Yeah. That's pretty exciting because, again, in those days, I mean, home computers were like kind of a rarity. I mean, granted, the area of the world that you were in, maybe it was a little more common than it was kind of in my neck of the woods. But this was amazing, though, to just have a place where young people and maybe even adults that were kind of interested in learning some of those skills could come in and get kind of real access to that. What were some of the programs and stuff that you had?
Our idea was to use games to ease people into the computer age. Not that we needed it with kids, but most adults at that time were scared of computers. They were afraid that they'd embarrass themselves in front of a machine. And so we used games kind of as a way to ease them in. Assembly games like Robot Chase, where X's and O's are chasing each other around the screen. This was the era where Pong was just coming out. And there was a game called Hunt the Wumpus. These were all text-based games. There was no, the Oregon Trail was another one. There were no graphics to speak of.
Right.
It was just text-based or X's and O's. And you had to load the games into the computer via audio cassette tape. If you didn't have the volume just right, it would get scrambled and you'd have to start all over again. It was really, when I think about it now, it's kind of laughable, but at that point, it was a gateway to the future.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's really important. It's I'm someone that works with STEM and a STEM instructor for scouts, and I will just tell you that they get a lot of that education and stuff in school, but it's you wouldn't believe still how many people's home the home computer is mom or dad's phone, or maybe just an iPad or something like that. And the world has changed a little bit, that those experiences are a lot more valid than kind of for work than they might have been 15, 20 years ago. But being able to actually sit in front of like a machine that you might use one day at your job, like especially for people that are like artists and things like that. I don't know that you get the same experience on an iPad with like a Kid Pix or something. It's a good gateway, but yeah, I think it's really important to have those type of experiences. So it's really exciting that you
it
have
was
that.
Something we wanted to give to the community, as we were also just fascinated by the potential of these machines. We were not selling computers. We were a nonprofit educational corporation. And we thought this would be, people are going to need this. It's coming down the road.
Yes.
And most people did not have computers in their homes. And so the idea that this was a safe and very pretty place with, high beam ceilings and light and hanging plants, I made it really pretty. So people would feel at ease, like a library, It was like a library, and for $1.50, you could sit down for an hour and play games on computer, and no one was trying to sell you a machine.
I actually read that the initial location was kind of like got it for a song sort of thing, at least in terms of Bay Area real estate.
Well, at the time, I think what they had done in that neighborhood was they built too many schools before they saw where the kid population was going. And they had literally had surplus schools. And this particular school was like 2 or 3 years old. And we got the 5,000 square feet for 10 cents a square foot as renters.
That's pretty amazing. So, but sometimes it feels like you've just got to have those like kind of angel donor situations, or those little like we lucked out and we were the people that got the deal, so that way that we could make this wonderful thing available.
No, I think you've hit on something that may turn up again in our conversation about my novels. Is it has to do with the choices you make, but also the opportunities that you see for yourself in any moment in time. And if you've got an open mind and an open heart, and you're not too bogged down with cynicism, then the idea of how you perceive yourself in your future really is unlimited.
This is very true. This is something that I talk about with my son all the time. So that's good. I cannot wait to get to that, because your books very much deal with that subject. So we will absolutely get there. Just kind of one last thing about that is when you were starting up the computer center, did you attend the Homebrew Computer Club, or what type of connections did you have in the area? Yeah.
I'm not a joiner. David is really into the computer stuff. I was into the social intelligence part of it, the possibility that these machines could be used in creative ways as tools. And I am a teacher, and so that part of me was interested in the people-to-people part of it, as if I had a set of watercolors and I was teaching someone how to use them. David was into literally the nuts and bolts of it. So I never went to a homebrew computer company.
It's okay. I just know that was a kind of a prevalent thing kind of in those days for people, especially that were kind of in that scene. I totally can understand going to that thing. It seems like in those days that would have been very much like a very niche sort of thing, just when you think about some of the people that are kind of the luminaries of all of that.
There weren't that many women who were doing computer games. There was I do remember going to a West Coast computer fair once. We spoke and we were on panels, David and I, talking about the computer center, and you'd look out and there was just a sea of guys, white guys, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's still sort of like that. I mean, even for the efforts that have been made to kind of make spaces more welcoming. There's always room for improvement. There's always ways to let people know that these are spaces where we need your expertise. We want your expertise. I want to hear what you have to say, because you're going to look at something from a completely different angle than I look at it from. And the only way that we can kind of move forward and grow and make what the future is going to be for everybody is if we've got everybody's input on that.
That's totally true. And that's why I think it was important for me back then to be a game designer, to bring a feminine point of view, to design games that girls would like, and using characters like Madeline, which we did. This idea is everyone's welcome here. Yeah.
That's great. I talk about all the time about how you need to make the tent wide, because if you don't, this hobby, all of this stuff will go away. If we're not encouraging young people to be involved with it, if we're not encouraging, we're not making it a friendly and safe place for women and people that don't look exactly like you in the mirror, it will just disappear.
Yeah.
And so, 100%. Let's talk about maybe writing for games. I know that I held a few things up. I'm a huge Conan Doyle fan. That's why I loved these back in the day. I burned through even the ones that you can tell he hated writing. I've read all of it. So what was it like kind of getting involved with companies like ICOM Simulations and basically just writing scripts and creating uh, uh, new stories and such for kind of these characters that I'm sure that there was a lot of pressure to try to make things conform, but they're interesting stories. But
Yeah,
do you want to maybe talk about it a little?
yeah. I'm not a Sherlock Holmes fan by nature. It's not that it's just not anything I was ever drawn to.
Hmm.
Nancy Drew, yeah, but,
Sure. Yeah.
not Sherlock Holmes. My writing partner, Lori Bauman Arnold, and I met when she was working for a company that did a press conference for LucasArts when David's first game, Rescue on Fractalus,
Hmm.
was being launched. And so that's when I met Lori. And later on, we discovered that not only did we like each other a lot, that we both had writing skills. And so she got a call from ICOM Simulations asking us to convert a paper and pencil game, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, into a video game.
Hmm.
And I believe, I could be wrong about this, that it was one of the first games that actually used interactive video. So our task, when there were 2 volumes that we worked on, each I think had 3 cases on it. It's a long time ago. Had half a dozen, 24 to 36 different characters where you
Hmm.
go around, you're the consulting detective, you go around with Watson, you knock on doors, and characters would open the door and either say that, "Hi, Ducky, what can I do for you today? Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
never heard of them," and slam the door. I mean, there were
Yeah.
little snippets of
Yes.
dialogue that we wrote, and sometimes there were longer scenes. It was super, super fun. Prior to that, I had been working on spec screenplays, and so I know how to write dialogue. And so Lori and I were a good team on this project. We had a load of fun. And no, I don't remember feeling a lot of pressure one way or another to make it conform. It's like, you
Mhm.
guys just make up the characters. Here's the game. Go for it. It was great.
That's good. It's always nice to have a little bit of creative freedom. I didn't know uh, exactly it's if because it's very easy for people to want to hold some of these works to be sacred that you couldn't bend things or change things. But I'm like, if you read the Conan Doyle canon, it's like there's just a point where he's like, you know what, I really painted myself in a corner by marrying off Watson. It's basically spoiler alert at this point, but it's just like he just writes her up. He's like, oh yeah, she died. It's like, okay. So I guess if Conan Doyle could do it, other people can kind of change, and that property has been movies and books and
Oh,
parody and all of that. So I just didn't know if there was a lot of pressure to kind of
yeah.
keep things tight, but no, I very much enjoyed that game. It is, you're 100% correct. It's one of those things where you kind of would go out, and you're investigating and you're interviewing people, and there were some people that would just slam a door in your face, and there's
Yeah.
other stuff where you actually had to sit there. And I remember you would watch the conversation, and you have to play Watson, and you're taking the notes and
Mhm.
basically just making sure that you can follow up on things in a timely manner, because there's kind of a bit of a ticking clock to
Yeah.
the story as well. So.
It was my first foray into interactive game design. And
Well,
after that came Putt-Putt, and so the idea of
mhm.
getting to a point and branching and what if you're here and you know this, then you go here, if not, go here, and I found that fascinating.
As part of kind of acclimating yourself to that type of writing, did you ever read any of the? I know that there's like a choose your own adventure titles, and I mean there's a knockoff series. I think it's even just called Which Way. But did you ever read any of those just
Oh,
as a bit of research?
I certainly didn't read them as a kid. That was before, that
Sure.
happened, but, and I'm trying to think of the timeline. My son was into them, that would have been in the mid-90s. So, yeah, I probably read some of them with him, but I didn't study
Mhm.
them in that way.
Oh,
My
sure.
mind
Yeah.
as a writer, I'll tell you the truth, Ron, a writer's job is to speculate what if. So at any plot point, it's like, okay, here's one way to go, but what if you went this way, and where would that branch out to? And what if at this node you went somewhere else? So I think I naturally do that.
Well, I've read some of your books, so yes, absolutely. But you also mentioned Putt-Putt and all of that. When did you move over to Humongous Entertainment?
Yeah, well, Ron Gilbert, the founder of Humongous, worked with David at Lucas Games. And then at some point he went off to do Humongous Entertainment, and they were supposed to be junior adventure games, point and click adventure games. And because he knew Lori and he knew me, I felt obvious to him that we could help him out and he could help us by giving us these contracts, and we would all work together and create something fun. So we did the first 2 Putt-Putts together, Lori and I. Putt-Putt Joins the Parade and Putt-Putt Goes to the Moon. And then we did a Fatty Bear's birthday surprise in between. And those are the 3 that I worked on.
Well, they're a lot of fun. And I remember when kind of seeing, because I've worked in education, feels like forever. And before that, I was one of those kids that absolutely hung out at the library and was somebody that went on Saturdays and volunteered at the local library and all of that. And so I saw a lot of like what people would even kind of term like edutainment
that was
things is part of that. And so I remember seeing those games in the old days and being like, this looks exactly like kind of the like a SCUMM engine game.
Yes.
And then I learned later it's because it was.
Yeah, it was. And we had an awful lot of fun with the characters in those games. And again, the dialogue and mapping the whole thing out screen by screen on paper, and then saying, okay, if you get here and you've got the balloon, but you don't have the money for the car wash, then you can either deliver groceries for the neighbor, or you can mow the lawn, or that kind of stuff.
I liked it because I saw a lot of people play it, and then it was kind of like the lawn mowing specifically, where it was like there's a little action kind of in this thing as we push the story forward. But I used to have all of those games because there was a point where a lot of that stuff they would retire the computers and all of that, and I would get those things back, or they would just be like, oh, we're going to sell it at the book sale. And so I would always show up and I'd buy those things just to have that. I had no idea what I was going to do with it, but it looked really nice sitting in like a 90s CD, one of those CD display rooms and all that, to have like all the Sly Fox and all of those titles and such.
Yeah. Well, that place you mentioned where David and I gave a talk in the Netherlands, that was in a place called Helmond, specifically in a museum, the Home Computer Museum. And they had a display of thousands of exactly what you're talking about. Boxes, probably, not just the boxes. They actually had the games in these glass cases. And while we were there, the people who invited us took them out of the display and asked us to sign them. And it was quite an honor to see them there in the museum.
That's very cool. That guy has a massive collection of that stuff, and that's another thing that's really important too, is the preservation of the hobby, because a lot of those things, they were very designed to be ephemeral. Like it was an experience that you had, and then it just was gone. And we've lost more than than we'll ever be able to reclaim. But it's so great to see people that put the time and the effort in to preserve those things.
Well, then that's an interesting question when you think about the physicality of the medium itself, the disc, the box, the old computers, those are ephemera. But the experience and the memory of those experiences, that stays with you. So, which is more valuable, really?
I think that it's honestly, we've done, I say this too all the time, where it's like we've preserved every Quadra 700 computer. We have preserved every Amiga. There's a million examples of that. We're at the point where we really need to be talking to people and gathering the stories, because there's so much knowledge. There's so much of that firsthand experience that that there will be a point where people won't be here to share those stories, and when it's gone, it's gone.
It's always really nice and heartening for David and I to hear from fans of our games how much playing those games with their dad, how much it meant to them, and how now, a generation later, they're playing with their kids, their grandkids. It's a very cool feeling that something that you created is out there in the world and remains part of someone's life.
Absolutely. Again, it was very gratifying when I could set up a machine and take it over my son's pre-K and just being like, go to town. They'll love this stuff. It's all very safe. It's not, you're not sticking them in front of an iPad or something, but nothing wrong with that. But I mean, there's a lot of like scrolling videos and things like that. No, we're going to exercise their brain, and it's problem solving. And more than that, it's like you said earlier, it's kind of that emotional intelligence where it's like, here's a person and they have needs and they're a real character, and it's like, and how do we solve problems for them, and it solves problems for me, and how do we work together and collaborate? And I think that that's so important to teach young people, especially. It's such a cynical world. It's everything is very negative, that it's nice to have those experiences and be able to share that with a younger audience of just like, here's the thing about growth and creativity and just, kindness.
When you mow the lawn for the woman in Putt-Putt, she says, great job, Putt-Putt, thanks a lot, sweetie. It's just like, maybe that's a kid who doesn't get thanked a lot or doesn't get called sweetie very often. It's just like, I did a good job.
Yes. And that's another one of those things. You don't know what people are going through. You don't know what people's pasts are. Just be kind. It's it's chaos. It's chaos out there. Whatever you can do to try to make the day a little bit nicer for someone else is time well spent.
Yep.
So let's talk about and again, thank you so much for all the hard work that you did on those titles, because again, they meant a lot to me. They've meant a lot to so many people that will be watching this video, and people that haven't even discovered those games yet. They'll have those same experiences, I hope, one day. And
I'll tell you a secret.
Look on it fondly
I'll
too.
tell you a secret. It wasn't hard work. It was fun.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's that does make it easy, right? If it's enjoyable, then it's less of a chore. That's for sure.
That's my measuring stick for whether I say yes to a project. Does it spark joy?
Yes. Right. Absolutely. There's a lot of times where someone they'll ask me to do something and I will be like, seems like a lot of work. But then I think about that, it's like, how is this going to improve their life, or how will this help them out? Or, are we watering that tree of friendship or whatever? And it's like, I gotta realize that, that so many people are tied up, not to get sidetracked on this topic, but it's like so many people are convinced that their ego is who they are. And it's every day I have that struggle of trying to figure out that it's like, is my ego informing me of this, or is this like really who I am? And then most of the time I've got to take that bad thought out in the backyard and drown it in a bucket, and then just get on with doing whatever the positive option was. So I hope that more people can make those discoveries too. Let's talk about being an author for fiction for young adults, and what that has kind of meant to you, and some of the work that you've had. You were very kind. You sent me an evaluation version of your last year's book, which is The Little Things That Kill: A Teen Friendship Afterlife Apology Tour, which I'm glad you're not paying by the letter. But it's an excellent story about how your choices have consequences, and how your choices affect everyone around you.
Yeah. Well, I think I have to go before I started writing fiction for YA, young adult. In 1997, I found myself with an opportunity to create something online for teenagers, kind of at the dawn of AOL and, the kind of things where chat rooms and all that stuff, which just seemed pretty pointless to me, to actually create something that was worth logging on for. And so David and I created something called the Insight, THEINSITE, as in the cool site, the insight.org, which is still there. And it looks so retro now because we haven't touched the graphics since 1997. And it's a very broad and deep website that was really about social and emotional learning for adolescents, not in a preachy way, just like kind of, hey, we know this is stuff you're curious about. Here's information about anything you might be thinking about. And we did it in a way that also brought live educators into the chat rooms on a regular basis to answer live questions from kids in the chat rooms. Questions about substance abuse prevention, questions about sex education, questions about all kinds of stuff. And then we archived the transcripts of those Q&A sessions in case you missed one. You could go back and check it out. It was all very open. And I really believe that it helped a lot of people. And it's still up there. But I think the most longest living part of it was an advice person character called Terra, who first made her appearance on that website as a panic button. There's a emoticon of a girl screaming like Munch's The Scream. Ah, hey, Terra, I need help. And all this email, and hey, disclosure, I'm Terra. All this email started coming in from around the world, Ron, from day one. It's like the weirdest thing. It's like, why is someone writing to me from Kenya? Here's someone from Guatemala writing. I mean, it's like, we didn't advertise. It was just pretty bizarre. And still 28 years later, I still occasionally get email from teenagers who, the other one, a couple of weeks ago, saying when she was 8 years old, she wrote to me, and now she's 18, and she just wanted to thank me 10 years later. It was like crazy. Anyway, the Hey Terra stuff and the emails that came in, and all those emails are in really neat folders, and all identifying aspects of the letter writer are stripped out. So it was a learning experience for anybody who popped in. I have a question about siblings, and here's one, other people, and here's Annie's answers. I mean, Terra, not Annie. And after that, I started writing nonfiction books based on these emails. And being in the trenches with the kids and seeing the emotional stuff that weighs so heavy on their hearts and their heads every single day, I realized that, truth is stranger than fiction. Maybe I could weave some of these into stories. And that experience of answering almost 70,000 emails in the last 28 years brought me to The Little Things That Kill. So it was the emails, it was these advice books, nonfiction for middle grade and for teens, and also for younger kids in the Girls' Friendship book. And then saying, okay, I don't want any parameters on my stories. I don't want just Q&A. I want to be able to really expand a story world. And a cousin of mine sent me an article from a newspaper about a very young girl who took her own life. And that became the kernel of the seed that was The Little Things That Kill. Long answer.
No, it's absolutely true. And I think that something you struck on earlier is people largely just kind of want to be heard and don't always have access to the resources that they need, or are in a situation where they feel that it's not safe to share that information with like a parent or even maybe a school counselor. And so I can understand the kind of the draw of a little bit of the anonymity of the internet to be able to just reach out and say, hey, this is a struggle that I'm facing. How how do I navigate this?
Yeah, and
So,
it's really what you're saying is absolutely true. There was safety in the anonymity. People say, "Oh, you've got a stranger danger on the internet back then." I don't know,
mhm,
this person who says she's Terra might be actually, some old geezer who's trying to, lure kids.
mhm,
I think that the anonymity worked in this situation very, very well because as you say, you're 14 years old, you're holding on to this fear, there's something wrong with you, you don't know how to handle
mhm,
a situation. You reach out, it's a leap of faith. You reach out into the internet, you type up something, and then you hit send, and within 24 hours, I would write back.
yeah,
And I'm not a therapist. I wasn't, even if I were, it would be unethical for me to do therapy online. But what I am is a teacher and a very good listener. And so at the very least, saying to this kid, I hear what you're saying. I understand why you're so frustrated and frightened by all of this. Here's my best advice.
mhm,
And then I would direct them to someone in their community,
yeah,
you know, and more often than not, I did not ever hear from them again. But sometimes, maybe one time out of 10, it would say, I talked to my friend. Thank you so much. Things are much better. This idea of empowerment that you
mhm,
can speak up for yourself. And at least by doing that, there is some chance you're going to get your needs met. Not always, there's never a guarantee. But you know for sure that if you stay silent in the face of an untenable situation, it will probably continue and get worse.
mhm. Absolutely. It's I think that especially in those days, not the world was pretty connected. It wasn't as connected as it is now. For and it definitely was not a place where people talked about a lot of those issues. There was still a lot of stigma about. I mean, if people consider that there's still a stigma about mental illness and about people just with the struggles of interpersonal relationships and things like that. If people think that there's a stigma now, it was so much worse
Of
than
course.
people didn't talk about those things. It was
Mhm.
purposely avoided.
Yeah.
I talk to people. That's why I talk to a lot of other parents. Like my son is a teenager in his late teens, but we have always um, made sure to be like, hey, like, if there are things that you need to talk to us about, we are here and we are open. And this is a non-judgmental kind of place because we want you to trust us enough to bring us that information. And if you can't talk to us, we will make the connection with someone that's a trained expert that can talk to you
Yeah.
about something that's bothering you. And we've always left that communication open because when I was young, it was very much a thing of like, just figure it out. But again, that was the tools that they were handed. It's maybe not as malice as much as it is they just didn't know how to handle it either.
Right.
And that's something I tell my son all the time too, that it's like you see people out there and you think people have it figured out. Absolutely not. They're making it up as they go, and they're just trying their best.
Yeah,
So,
I've done a lot of parent education, and one of the things I say to parents is that parenting is an art. It's not a science. So like filmmaking,
mhm,
it kind of evolves. And you're absolutely right when you say, the parenting tools that you use are often the ones that you inherited or that you experienced firsthand, but it doesn't need to stop there. I think
right.
we're in a place now where confidential information is more readily accessible. You can go online and just, pretty much ask for, how do you handle a situation at home like this?
Yeah.
And you'll get resources, and I think it's a lot easier
Yeah.
to avail
I,
yourself of these resources.
it's true. And I think part of that is just so many people went through a lot of that trauma themselves and didn't have an outlet or didn't have the resource and
Right.
have recognized the importance of, if we want young people to still be here in 5 years, if we want young people to not make rash decisions, we've got to have a non-judgmental conversation with them about how to address these things in a healthy way, and how
Right.
to get
Mhm.
help.
And if what they're going through triggers you, put on your own oxygen mask first.
Yes, that's true.
Because the last thing you want to do is make them feel like, oh, I can't talk to mom or dad about this because it's upsetting them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why it's always good to have that addendum on that conversation of, it's like, it's especially people that might have had abuse or something in their past or something, and you talk to a young person who's like, hey, I'm getting bullied at school and things like that, and it's like, okay, well, we absolutely, those things need to end right now, and then we need to figure out how to help you kind of unpack and kind of deal with this this thing that happened to you unjustly. So yeah, I 100%. It's really great that we now live in a world where things are better, not perfect by any means, but better.
I'd like to think that educators, the people who run schools and individual classroom teachers, are more aware of those dynamics and have very, very little tolerance for it. I hope so.
And that's been my my thing too. And I think that young people especially are less willing to tolerate injustice than they were, because it's the monoculture has kind of eroded. So this idea, like if I talk to my son where I'm like, talk to me about the cliques at your school, and he's like, I don't know exactly what you mean, at least at my school. It's like that things are more fluid between groups. So you don't see like you've got just the jocks and they only hang out with jocks, and you got the nerdy kids and you got the theater kids, and it's like that there's more like kind of interaction between these groups, and people look out for one another.
Well, that sounds wonderful, and I wouldn't presume that that's true in every school.
Oh no, certainly not.
Experience.
Certainly not.
But it's nice to hear that your son's school is like that.
Well, I think that it's the culture that you create. And again, nothing is perfect. I'm certainly not holding up as an example for anybody else, but it's just what I hear is that if someone is being like singled out or something like that, people stand up. They aren't afraid to stand up and just, right. Yeah, it's like, this isn't who we are. Is this who we are? This isn't who we are.
Yeah.
And it's sort of one of those things about like stopping people in their tracks where it's like, is that what you really think? One of those things where it's like, it's just put the brakes on and, is this really who we are? And so trying to just make things better, and gosh, so we really got sidetracked. Sorry.
No, it's all part of it. If you think about what the books are about.
Absolutely. I just finished The Little Things That Kill. I thought it was excellent. I didn't want to spoil it too much or anything, but did you want to maybe give kind of the
elevator pitch,
rear cover version of the story?
Yeah. 16-year-old Nicole, drama queen on stage and off, finds herself in an otherworldly realm with no clue what happened to her. She has 30 days to figure it out, or she won't be moving on. She doesn't really know what moving on means, but she's pretty sure that, she's not sure about anything. Anyway, she's got her 30 days, and she gets to go back to Earth because she has no memory, to find out from some of the people that she left behind some of these missing pieces to the puzzle of what happened to her on her last day. And her first stop on this fact-finding tour is her own funeral.
Nicole very much at the beginning of the story and such, you really feel like she's got it all figured out. That's her attitude. She knows exactly who she is. Yes. And to watch her journey of interacting with the people whose lives that she changed, either just by being there as a daughter or being there as a friend, and what her passing to this other plane kind of meant to them and what it changed inside them. And kind of like all these interpersonal relationships and stuff. There's a lot of, I would say, would you agree with it? That it's kind of, there's a very spiritualism sort of message in the story, and
well, define spiritualism.
I know that means so much to different people.
What did
and
it mean
I
to you as you just used the word?
What it meant to me is that the interconnectedness of things, and how we are all fundamentally connected, and how that connectedness works, we may not necessarily understand, but it still exists.
Okay.
And there are different people in the story that access this through different ways. Like like my grandmother was someone who was very much a proponent of the idea that that you can talk to your people that were important to you and people that have passed on through your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a way that you can interact. You can still interact with those people. There are other people that I know that are very involved with like a kind of what would, in a broad term, kind of like a earth religion or spiritualism. And that they see that as a way to be able to deal with kind of the sort of this next plane of existence that runs concurrent underneath what we can see and touch and experience.
Yeah, well, I say that you've hit two of the things. We have dream touring, where Nicole accesses her father's dreams and her friend's dream and manifests herself in there so she can communicate with them. She needs to unravel this mystery, and
Yes.
she can't materialize on Earth. So yes, she's using her spirit form in that way. And then we have Isabel, who is a Wiccan, and this is backwards, isn't it? Anyway, this is
it's correct on our side. Yes.
Oh, good. This is Isabel's hand and a Ouija board, and that's Nicole. So the idea of communicating with people from beyond the grave is also an aspect of this character's relationship with the protagonist. So yeah.
Hold on, Annie.
Yeah.
That is a talking board. That is.
Oh yes, a talking board, and not a ghost phone.
You're right. Yes.
It's a planchette, not a ghost phone, right?
I do appreciate the fact, because I think that being reverent of other people's deeply held beliefs is very important. So I appreciate as an author that that there is no judgment, and you have characters that are absolutely very judgmental. But I appreciate the accurate portrayal of Izzy, and sort of like what her beliefs are, and how she finds kind of solace and is able to kind of function in this very stressful world that she inhabits.
Yeah, well, make no mistake, Isabel has bona fide talents. She's got skills. You can attribute them to whatever you want, but it's my intention in creating her as a character that she's just not using this to assuage her guilt, of which she has a lot. But she actually has some skill sets.
Yes, she is absolutely connected. That is for sure. So I think she's very well written. So she feels absolutely real. So I think that in listening to the audiobook as well, the performance of the actress that you hired for the role, that was excellent casting, because I absolutely felt like a lot of her sometimes panic in just sort of like I can't find something that I'm needing that for like a calming item or whatever, or just that guilt of, because she's very central to the story of how we arrive at our main character's kind of ultimate fate and all that. I certainly don't want to give away too much, because
we can talk about it without giving it away. I think what's interesting, first of all, shout out to Maria Marquez, our audiobook narrator. She's amazing. She happens to be a regional actor here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and after she did the audiobook for Little Things to Kill, and then my second book, Lita Centaur, A Life on Two Planets, because when you've got a great audiobook narrator, you want to make sure you use them more than once. We got to see her on stage, and we hadn't met her before in person, and it was just a real thrill. But back to the characters, there are 3 first-person narrators, including Dead Girl Nicole and Isabel, our Wiccan friend. But then there's also Cassie, and Cassie is the tough girl who is hiding a lot of pain. And all 3 of these girls have their own Rashomon version of what actually happened here. And that was the intriguing part of it for me as a novelist, is what do they know, when do they know it, and when do they reveal it to themselves and or to the reader.
Yes, and that's an excellent way to put it, because they all have their own story of, I mean, again, our lead character is sort of like trying to learn what happened through these other people, but it's at the end, you do get to see the real sort of like the inciting incident and the exact chain of events that led to to Nicole's death. But
isn't it also interesting, Ron, that all 3 of them are unreliable narrators?
Yes.
In part because of their unwillingness to face their own part in what happened, including Nicole herself.
Yes. Yeah. That was honestly, again, the last couple of chapters is when things really sort of like start to make sense, because again, you hear everybody's sanitized version of, I couldn't have possibly had anything to do with this. I couldn't have possibly have driven someone to have these thoughts, or and then it's all the rationalization gets stripped away, and it's like, here's just what factually happened.
And here's what you actually did to contribute to what actually happened.
Yeah. You have to, and now you have to own this, and you have to realize that you'll have to live with this now.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful story. It's excellent. I can't recommend it enough.
Well, because I am basically a very optimistic person, it was important to me to give each of these characters the ending they deserved, because I feel like they went through hell and back. They came to terms with what they'd done. They apologized. They made amends with whoever they needed to make amends with. And then I gave them an ending for themselves, or a next step for them, which was positive.
There was that's really good. It's that there was contrition, and then there was here is a way to move forward. That it's not, you're not stuck here. You've got it was really good. It's it's a very powerful book. I really enjoyed it. At first I was sort of like, well, I'm a 50 adjacent guy, and it's like, but I was a teenager once, so I'm going to just go in with an open mind, and I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad. I was going to ask if you think your son would like the book.
He probably would. He is he's one of those people that he reads, but a lot of the stuff that he reads is like, it's nonfiction. Like,
I read a lot of nonfiction.
I do too, but it's kind of more of it's like, okay, I gave him the Howard Zen book, and he was like, Dad, what am I supposed to do with this? And I was like, I don't know. Slowly over a lifetime, just read a chapter, I guess, here and there. And so he's worked on that. But he would probably like it too. I think that, especially as a young person, that, I mean, it speaks to kind of maybe the world that you inhabit. So
slip it into his room, see what happens.
I will do that.
Tell me, talk to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be like, Annie said you have to read this.
No, Annie didn't say you have to read it.
Annie said she really encourages you to read this.
Okay, here's what it says on the back. Here's my quote on the back. Think about it. if the end isn't actually the end, and we get to keep on rolling along, using what we've learned from one lifetime to make smarter choices in the next, well, how cool would that be?
Absolutely. How much of life is you think about life as a rock tumbler that sort of knocks off all those rough edges and just sort of refines, like it could be your soul, or it could be like whatever, whatever terminology people want to use, that now you can take that and kind of you go back to the collective, and then you come back again and you get another shot to do it all over again. I'm not remembering necessarily anything from the last time, but just it's a very optimistic and it's a very hopeful book. I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah,
I love the art.
Friendly and optimistic. That's me.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the artwork because there's a PDF that accompanies the audiobook version that shows you
Substation 15.
Isabella.
Oh yeah. You see Isabel's handiwork. You see the pathway of all the choices, but you also see Substation 15.
Yes, which is a very interesting sort of like campus. It's almost kind of like a school. Yeah,
it's a a school of higher education.
Literally.
Yeah.
Well, I need to get started on Lita Centaur. Do you want to? Do you want to?
I want to talk about Lita.
Yeah, I was going to say. Do you want to maybe tell us a little bit about that? I'm literally a chapter in.
Okay, I won't. No spoilers.
Okay.
But isn't this a gorgeous cover?
It is.
This is gorgeous. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the cover design. So it's called Lita Centaur: Life on Two Planets. This is the planet Fure. And as you can see, it actually revolves around a dwarf red star. And so everything is kind of like tinged in red. It's a very arid planet and very rocky. And here's Lita Centaur, and this ominous figure here is, she's called the Dot. And she is kind of like the supreme ruler there. Because the air is not quite breathable for extended amounts of time, everybody kind of lives in domes. And that's what's going on there. Okay, and then you've got this center strip here where somebody in a fast-moving interstellar vehicle is moving towards a planet that looks pretty familiar to us. And then the same character is reflected over here. And this is where she lands. And this is Northern California. And if you know anything about our geography, this is Mount Shasta. Okay, so Lita is an interspecies hybrid. She's one of a kind. She's not the only interspecies hybrid on her planet, but she's very, very different, even from the other hybrids. She's 6.5 feet tall, where everyone else kind of tops out at 5 feet tall. So she's a standout, but more than her physical appearance, her behavior is just way out of line of everybody else, and not out of line that she's in any way trying to act out. This is who she is an emotional being. She's unpredictable. She's emotional. She's erratic. And the other people kind of lead with kind of this Zen acceptance. They have a chant that is one mind, one goal, one family. But the truth is that if you're not a purebred Furean, they're called the reals. The hybrids are called the brids. You're not really part of the family. They like to think of themselves a little more accepting than they actually are. And so Lita Centaur is a girl who finds something about her true identity, her origin story, and tries to find out where she's really from. And if she can find a place that feels more welcoming than her home planet. And I would say that sometimes you have to leave home to find home.
That's very true. It sounds like an amazing journey. I need to get on. I'm getting ready to take a big trip. It's going to be on my read list while I'm out of town. So I will get it finished up.
That's good. You have the audiobook?
I do.
Great. Then you'll hear Maria Marquez again. And I call this an intergalactic road trip.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're on a road trip, Lita's on a road trip.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm just going to Kansas, but
Okay, well,
maybe not as exciting as some of these other places, but hopefully this will be good company, because I know I actually just got back from another trip, and I listened to the Little Things That Kill while I was out of town, and it was excellent company on the road, that's for sure.
it's
So,
good. Well, yeah, most of the people who reviewed Lita Centaur use the word fun
mhm.
in their description in the review. She's quite charming in a disarming way.
Well, I'm excited to read it. So this Little Things to Kill was 2024, Lita Centaur 2025. Do you
Yes.
have anything else coming
Oh, yeah,
out that you'd
of course.
like to tease?
I'm working on a third novel.
Excellent.
I can tell you the name of it. You want to hear it?
Sure.
It's called Page Turner and the Happily Ever After Wars.
Well, hopefully it is a page turner.
Yeah, and Page Turner works in a library, and it's really a story about an aspiring young writer on a very, very tight deadline, and what happens when the fictional character she creates takes hold of her storyline and will not give it back.
Very interesting.
What's a writer to do?
I don't know. I if it's that episode of the Twilight Zone, you cut the tape and you throw the tape in the fire so that the apparition that you've created goes away. So, but
if it were only that simple.
if it were only that simple.
Get rid of
Well,
anything in your life that doesn't add up. This is
Right.
not how I want this scene written.
Right. So I don't know that I would have anything left, but no, I'm very much I need to get Lita Centaur started, and I can't wait for the next one. I know that someone will fault me if I don't ask, but have you considered, with the how accessible these days tools like Adventure Game Studio and things like that, have you considered maybe turning some of these novels into even just short or abbreviated interactive fiction experiences?
I have not considered that. That would be David's department.
I am going to. Here's the thing. I'm going to pitch it to David.
Okay.
I will say, listen, I got this lady. You've got to meet her. She is amazing. These stories are wonderful. It will make a perfect interactive fiction title. And be like, I'd love to meet her. Well, you've only been married to her for 50 years.
51.
51. Oh gosh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the writing part takes up pretty much all of my time, and the other platforms and the marketing, I like to let other people deal with that. But this part, the talking about it, oh, I'm totally down with this.
Excellent. Yeah, I know that you have to kind of preserve your creative energy on some of that stuff, and
it's just like, no, it's one of those things. It's what sparks joy. And it's like, and for the Page Turner book, I've given myself, I mean, it's just crazy to have Little Things That Kill and Lita Centaur out 13 months from each other. That was a lot. This one I said, okay, I'm going to give myself till 2027 to do Page Turner. And I mean, because there's so much stuff you have to get it, say, first quarter of 2027. Where do you actually have to stop writing, get your cover design, get all your edits in line, get the audiobook done? Because we produced the audiobook and it came out the same day as the print, Kindle, and paperback version of each of the other books. So it's just like,
yeah, that's a tight turnaround on a lot of that.
So I'm just taking it a little more slowly this time, and it's the idea of thinking about where do fictional characters live when the writer's not writing. It's just kind of interesting to me. Do they exist? Are they frozen in the last scene? You must have read The Never Ending Story, right?
Sure.
Okay, so in that book, the characters needed the reader. They needed Sebastian.
Yes.
It's like, where'd you go? You're stuck here. So he's not the writer, but he's the reader, and they need him. And it's like they're in a state of suspended animation until he picks up the book again.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm kind of taking the point of view that the author and the characters have this kind of link. There's almost like life support between them. But then, as I said before, the character wants to pull the plug and she says, I don't need you. You're not reliable. I'm going to do this on my own. It's like, wait, someone's driving my car. Wait.
Right. Well, I can't wait. I'm sure it'll be excellent. I'm very much a fan of the worlds that you build and of these characters that don't just feel like a plot contrivance, just a way to get to the next thing. These worlds feel lived in, and these characters feel like real people. And as someone who is now a newly minted fan, I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Ron. That means a lot, because that's really why I do the work. What you just
Absolutely.
said. I think a writer's job is to make readers care. And if you can make people care about fictional characters, then you've done some magic.
Yes. Feel something for these people that hopefully no longer just exist on the page. They exist in here, and they exist in here.
Yeah. And then when you tell other people about the story, then it's like they become real to those people as well. And that's like, if that's not magic, I don't know what is.
Absolutely. It's thank you so much. I really do appreciate all of that. And it's I hope that people will take a moment and they'll head over to anniefox.com, and you can learn a little bit more about the little things that kill. You can learn about Lita Centaur, and then if you stick with it, you can definitely hear about Paige Turner coming hopefully in 2027.
Yes, she's on track.
Excellent. Annie, thank you so much for taking time and coming and meeting with me here. I just sorry to gush on some of these characters that you've created and some of these projects that you've worked on.
It's fine.
Yeah, but
mostly what I do is all by myself, so it's like it's nice to hear some feedback.
Yeah, I think feedback is a gift. That's something else that we also say. So, but Annie, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too, Ron.
Today I've got a short excerpt for you from my audiobook narrated by the incomparable Maria Marquez. But before that, just to let you know, my book is now available on Amazon in all formats. And now it's story time.
Iz waves from the car window. I sulk over our lost summer plans. I won't teach her to play the guitar she got for her birthday but hasn't yet touched. We won't do our first solo full moon campout. We won't finish making her movie Beyond Normal. When she first told me her family was going to Thailand, we talked about the tsunami that swept away 227,000 people in 14 countries. She said that could happen again, but she wasn't worried because she had performed her special protection ritual using extra black salt, and Yolanda, her spirit guide, assured her that she wouldn't die in a flood. I was relieved, but only for a minute. Did she say how you would die? I ask. In a public restroom. I laugh nervously. Yeah, right. Iz shrugs. It's okay that you don't believe, even though you know that Yolanda's never wrong. I stop laughing. It's true. Yolanda told me I'd have good luck if I tried out for our town. She was right. She also predicted my falling out with Cassie. I'm not 100% with any of Iz's witchy stuff. Maybe it doesn't matter, since she's 1,000% into it. Still, thinking about Iz dying freaks me out. Do you have to go? You could stay at my house. Don't worry, Nick. I swear to the Goddess Eternal that I won't use any public restrooms in Thailand. And if I drink too much tea, I'll hold it in until I get back to the hotel.